Get some action, man.
Diablo 3. What the hell was I thinking? I mean, really, what was I thinking? Here I am playing a game that's about hell. Well, hell on earth, those kind of things. But this is a game that actually brings a lot of nostalgia because I did actually play the original Diablo on PC years and years ago. You know, when there was dial up going on and you would play with a particular friend. Well, I did actually do that. I also did play a little bit of Diablo 2, but I don't think I played as much. I don't know, maybe my dial-up connection wasn't so good or something with my friend and I just couldn't get to it. Well, whatever it was, you know, I still go through these particular top-down dungeon crawler hack and slash kind of games that I'm known with the health and the mana and all these different things that are very, very similar or very familiar when it comes down to Diablo 3. Of course, I picked Diablo 3, the Eternal Collection. So I got all the DLC, I got all the extra stuff, I can be the Necromancer, etc., etc. And it's actually a pretty worthwhile game, especially if you have co-op or if you really are into the hack and slash dungeon crawler kind of games. It's great to be able to look around. It's got a lot of the role playing game feel. It really seems to work out pretty well. Um, I have played other dungeon crawler kind of games. Baldur's Gate is one of them. I played a lot of that with another friend of mine. Champions of Norath, I've even played on the PS2. Both two different ones for Champions of Norath. And I also played a single player one called Bard's Tale, which is kind of a little funny one, but it's still actually pretty good. But hack and slash and these kind of dungeon crawlers were not just for dungeon crawlers like this. For an example, one of my favorite ones for hack and slash and whatnot is the X-Men Legends series, 1 and 2. As an X-Men fan, as a Marvel fan, of course I had to also do Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. So as I'm working on them and doing all that, you know, it's the same kind of thing. It's the same playability, same kind of way of doing it. Yeah, you hack and you slash. You also use certain powers. Of course, in the X-Men and Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it's more like mutant powers or other kinds of powers. But you get to be able to deal with them. Now with Diablo 3, they do come with a variety of classes. Now these classes they're based on what kind of gamer are you? How do you play it? How do you work it? So, for an example, the Barbarian and the Crusader, they're kind of like tanks. In other words, they're right there in front of the action. They're just taking it all in. You know, if you armor them up and make sure their armor and their vitality is heavy and everything, they might be able to survive just about anything. And that's what they're pretty much there for. They may or may not have any real like magic powers or anything like that. They may have a little bit, like the Crusader would definitely have certain abilities that are kind of considered divine, since the Crusader is kind of like a religious kind of person. You also have the monk, but he's a little bit different. He's kind of like a little elf of sorts, where he's very, very, very quick, has a lot of dexterity, things like that. Just a lot of things to go with on that level. Um, but then you also have the Demon Hunter, which I haven't played yet, so I'm not entirely sure if it's like almost like the difference between a Crusader and a Wizard, perhaps. Not entirely sure, but it sounds like it would be something like a battle mage of sorts. Um, but then there's also the wizard and the necromancer. As you can see with the video, I've been using the wizard. It's you kind of have to go more farther in because you don't necessarily work on their armor. You work more on their intelligence, and possibly vitality, and also cooldown rate, because you're going to use your magic abilities a lot, and you need to be able to know exactly how much to use, how much you can do, whatnot. So sometimes you just have to work on those certain things that are really, really worthy, and you just have to find the right kind of mix, not just for that character, but also how well do you play. That's part of that whole deal, is how well are you able to play on that. And when I first picked the Crusader, I like the idea of clerics, that you can be kind of out there, you're heavily armored, but then you have something like magic, something in that realm, but it's not really magic, but it is something in that kind of thing. Um, so in the story, I will have to say that the story of this is, of course, you're kind of working on getting rid of a demon called Diablo, and there's other demons, there's other ones that you have to go after. There's a lot of different things that are happening at this sense, and I I will have to say that sometimes it just kind of reminds me of some biblical references of how Michael is trying to, and some of the other archangels defeating hell and other, not just demons, but the fallen angels and whatnot. So in this game, you do actually have a fallen angel named Cheerio, who happens to actually be a good guy, but he did it for his own reasons. Um, and so he's there to actually get your help. And so you actually have special more abilities and whatnot. And the characters you meet and everything, there's a ton of story in this game. And many of these characters are funny. Some of them are really serious. There's a few things that you just go through. You could just go through them all. And you can, even in a single player game, you can use them. You can use some of them. I've used a lot with the Templar for my wizard, and I didn't even know this because when I was playing it with the Crusader, I was playing a lot with my friend for co-op, and they don't allow that for that part of that. But you could have the Templar, which is kind of like Crusader, the Enchantress, which is kind of like a wizard, I guess, or a monk. And then you also have the Scoundrel, which I guess is kind of more of a monk in a way, or like an elf, because they use like crossbows and things like that. So it really puts that through, and you go through the story, you go through the people. The voice actors had done a really great job. I know who the person is for the voice of Leia, who happens to be Jennifer Hale, one of my favorites. There's a few others that I don't know exactly them by name, but I have heard them in all kinds of other either games or even certain TV shows and whatnot, and it makes a actually pretty good feel for the game at the same time. Now with this hack and slash and everything, I've already kind of went through the fact with your characters. Your characters have a variety of different ones you can select, and so you pick what is best for you, what works for you. It makes it help play a whole lot better, and I really enjoyed that. Being able to do that. I actually, like with my Crusader, I did his strength and I did his vitality. With my wizard, it was intelligence, and it was also vitality and the cooldown. So you have to pick what works well, what makes it work, and you work on that. Co-op mode is actually pretty cool. You do have to have one that is the powerhouse and or the actual host of the game. And it probably doesn't exactly matter who it is in the sense of if you're both in the same realm. But if you're not, you kind of have to pick the one that is the lower, because if you don't, it doesn't work out as well. Then there's also the adventure mode, which is after the story. At least for the PS4 version, we worked on that, and it's kind of it's pretty cool. Um, the graphics, I'm fine definitely with the graphics. The graphics do not hinder anything. I think the best part of it is there's so much going on, so much things. And I think that's where the graphics really lie on that, is the power of the consoles of today being able to do that. I mean, you get multipliers for how many you get. You could get 250 with a multiplier for probably like 4 times the amount of experience. So all in all, I will have to say I really enjoyed this game. If you like this video, press like, and also if you liked a lot of my other videos, you can subscribe. Take care all, and I'll catch you later.